Oh, I see you have an M-Tech knife. You really are stupid, aren't you? Hi, folks. It is the Nutty Knife Guy. Back after a holiday hiatus. And this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of video. No testing a new knife or anything like that. I didn't get any knives for Christmas. But it is the new year, and I'm going to cover a subject. It's been rolling around in my head for a while. The subject of knife snobs. Now, it's been about a month ago now. There was a thread on a knife-related website that I subscribed to. And it was a young man, at least I think it was a young man, it's just from the way he expressed himself in his posts, who was into knives. And he posted his small collection of 5-6 knives. And most of the people looked at his pictures and said, wow, those are pretty neat. Welcome to the site. We're glad to see more people coming into the hobby and being knife people. But there were a couple that basically said, oh, you've got some M-Techs there, and right, those are just junk. I mean, why are you wasting your money on this thing, type of thing. And we don't want to, and somebody actually said, we don't want to see that junk posted in the group. Now, to their credit, the moderators kind of shut those guys down every once in a while. There were only 2-3 people that post that way. Most posted, just said, well, those are, pretty cool looking knives. Some of them did what I think is the right thing to do, including me. I said, well, those are knives. I'm glad you like them. Some of them are really cool looking. But, just be careful if you're actually going to use them and you're not just going to have them to collect and look at and play with. If you're actually going to use them for something, just be careful because they are low-end knives. The materials might not be the greatest. But hey, if you like them, great. Right? Just if you have to use them, they might not fail you. They might break. And give them some suggestions of maybe something costs a little bit more and be a little bit better. But there were people out there, like I said, just a few, that seemed to want to make this kid feel bad about having knives that weren't made of some super steel and didn't come from a company that charges ridiculous amounts of money. And someone came out and called him on it and said, well, we don't need any knife snobs in this, on this site. And then somebody else came back and said, well, I like well-made knives from reputable companies. I'm willing to pay a little bit more for them, or pay a lot more for them. Does that make me a knife snob? And that was the inspiration for this video. My definition of a knife snob. And here it is. First I'm going to say what I don't think a knife snob is. You are not a knife snob if you like high-end knives. If you're one of those guys that has to have a super steel and the greatest handle material, and it has to come from a company or a maker that has been around forever and has a super reputation, and everything about the knife is elite, and if you pay less than $200 for a knife, it's junk. That's all you want in your collection is the expensive high-end knives. You're not a knife snob. You're a connoisseur. You have standards. Right? More power to you. Me, if I pay $100 for a knife, that's an expensive knife. I have a couple that cost more than that. This is one of them. This is a custom made. I drew it, sent it to a company, they made it for me. This cost me more than $100. But if I buy a $100 knife, that's an occasion. Most of my knives come in at the $30 to $50 range. Some of them are less than that. Right? But if you're one of those guys that has to spend at least $200 or at least $100 or whatever, that doesn't make you a knife snob. What makes you a knife snob is if you're one of these guys that insist on one of the super knives from the the greatest, most stupendous companies ever, right? Right. And if you're like me, you spend enough money on a knife, you eat ramen noodles for a week because you spent your food money on a knife. And then you feel the need to go out and belittle and deride and generally insult people who don't have the money or post or will even own, like me, a mix of more expensive knives and less expensive knives. If you go out of your way to say, well, that's junk, you're buying Chinese, you're not a real patriot, because you bought an M-Tech or a Ridge Runner or whatever, or Timberwolf or something, right? And you go out of your way to say, well, I don't want to see that stuff. Why are you posting that stuff here? Right? I mean, there's a Benchmade post right above this. You shouldn't have it on the same page as a Benchmade. You shouldn't have an M-Tech on the same. If you feel the need to go on and actually take the time to post shit like that, you're a knife snob. You're also an asshole. Okay, as I said, I had this made for me. This cost actually about $150 all told. A lot of money for me. 5160 steel, good steel. Excellent craftsmanship. I really like this knife. I've got my Gilhoden tactical assault knife. I don't know why they call it that other than marketing, but okay. $60. I really like this knife. Then I have my M-Tech. Knife snobs' heads everywhere just exploded. After their eyes bled for a few minutes, for a few seconds anyway. The M-Tech 8040. I really like this knife. $30. And I don't have it handy, but I've got an M-Tech that cost about 10, $15, and a double-edged dagger. Awful, awful knife. But my point is, right, if somebody has a knife that I don't care for, there is one particular company, I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to, but they have like late night infomercials where they sell knives all night. That company. Some of their fixed blades, pretty good. I've got a couple of their fixed blades that I'm very happy with. But I've never seen a knife from this particular company that wasn't a folding knife that wasn't complete crap. Doesn't mean that good ones don't exist. I've just never come across them. But if somebody posts one of those knives, I'm not going to go say, oh man, it's company X. Oh my goodness, what an idiot you are for having one, right? You got taken if you paid more than 10 cents for that. Oh, and right, and they'll go on and on. Well, why don't you save your money and buy a real? Or somebody posts a collection of, like I said, the M-Techs or the Ridge Runners or the budget blades. Oh wow, for the price of those 5 junk knives, you could have had a fantastic old knife from brand X. Maybe that person thought quantity was better than quality. Maybe he's a collector. He likes a different one to play with when he's watching TV. Maybe brand X doesn't like their design philosophy. Now, Spyderco is a reputable company. They make good stuff when it comes to quality. I don't like them because the Spyderco design philosophy, most of them have the big thumb hole and the weird shaped blade. I find them aesthetically displeasing. I have one because I wanted a Spyderco in my collection. I'm not in a big hurry to buy one, buy another one. And for that, maybe that's the way it is. Like for instance, Tops. I know Tops has a great lineup of knives, good quality, good reputation, but they cost a fortune. And I haven't seen one that I like the look of enough to go out and buy for the collection. I do want to get a Tops in my collection, but I want one that I like. So if you're talking about people that are collecting, what is the definition of a good knife? For a collector, if a knife does what you intend it to do, if it is pleasing to you aesthetically, and it brings you happiness to own, it's a good knife. Now, if you're going beyond collecting and you're going to do bushcraft or something, would I want to take necessarily an M-Tech if I could take something else? No, I would take something else. I would go for probably my Ontario SP6 if I was going to go out and play Bear Grylls. But then again, Ontario, you can pick up an SP6 for I think $40 or $50 now. I've had mine forever. I forget how much. Matter of fact, it was a gift, so I don't know how much it cost. But I think you can pick them up for about 40 or 50 bucks. 1095 steel, very loyal company. I have used mine before to chop all kinds of stuff, right? But that's only a $50 knife, and it works. So if you get these guys, well, oh, yeah, Ontario, why don't you have a Tops? Why don't you have an Essie? You know, or or whatever, and you're an idiot because you don't have one. This knife, or it's not made of this super steel. Oh, it's a stainless steel knife. It's got to be junk, right? It's got to be high carbon, and then if it's high carbon, it's got to be a super steel. Yeah. You know, SV3 or whatever. All right, so then this is the problem I have with this. People tend to remember negative comments made about them more than they remember the positive ones. The negative comments have more of an impact, especially on younger people. And if you're one of these guys that goes out there and just belittles these people that have the gas station knives or, the Chinese knives, you know, like I said, the Ridge Runners or whatever, right? You are damaging the entire community of knife people. You're damaging the hobby. Because if you have a kid, the kid that was in those posts sounded to me from how he expressed himself was probably 16, 17 years old. And I'm thinking at 16, 17 years old, I go on there, I'm happy about these knives, just got a new one. I posted on this group of knife people. Wow, I am not crazy. I found a group, or a whole group here on the internet, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that like knives like I do. I'm not weird. I'm not a mutant. I have found my people. And then we get into it on there. Well, what are you buying that Chinese junk for? You're wasting your money. Why are you posting that next to Benchmade? Why are you posting that next to Tops? And that kid is thinking, oh wow. Right? The knife people that I have met are assholes. Now some of them are pretty nice, but I'm not going to come on this group to be insulted, even if it's only once. That kind of crap goes out of town. I can go play the Xbox, right? And if this happens enough, one of the things is going to happen to our neophyte knife person. That person is going to say, well, if this are the kind of people that are really into knives, maybe I don't want to be one of those people. And you're saying, nutty knife guy, come on. I mean, are people that impressionable? Yes, they are. There are a lot of hobbies you can get into now, folks. Now, the Forged in Fire show and its spin-offs have made knife collecting more popular than it ever has been. And knife making more popular than it ever has been. but it's still a very small community. It's been my experience that you can tell people, well, I collect guns. And unless they're some like snowflake liberal, they're like, oh, you collect guns. Even then, they use it. Well, yeah, I collect guns. Yeah, guns. But you tell them you collect knives, and they're a little weird because knives are like the serial killer weapon, right? So when you get people that are into this, they want to find and they want to hook up with other people that share this interest in knives, that love the knives, that love all things sharp and pointy. And then you got a couple of idiots in there. Go out of their way to make them feel like crap because their collection doesn't meet up to the knife snobs' lofty standards. One of these things, they're just going to say, screw it. I've got my knives. I'll keep these. I might still collect. Might still collect them, but or I could spend my money collecting stamps, collecting, collecting comic books, whatever. Because these people don't run me down. Or he's just going to keep his collection secret. He's not going to show anybody. He's not going to talk to anybody because of the way he was looked upon, the way he was derided upon, whatever. And this is dangerous to the whole hobby. The Second Amendment is under constant assault here, right? And it's made clear. It's been made clear in a couple of court cases, and it's certainly clear in the Constitution. It's the right to keep and bear arms. It's not just the right to keep and bear guns, folks. It doesn't say keep and bear guns. Keep and bear arms. And bear in mind that at the time that the Constitution was written, we were looking at single-shot, muzzle-loading weapons. We were looking at muskets with a sharp, pointy thing called a bayonet on the end of them, and swords of various types, and knives and tomahawks were every bit as vital to warfare as a musket, in some cases more so. And if they get the guns, and they're trying, knives will be next. Don't believe me? Ask the British. They're wanting to grind points off of knives, off of kitchen knives. They won't. I think that they have actually made it illegal to sell most knives. Mail order, even kitchen knives. I know that was proposed. I'm not sure it passed yet or not, but they're trying. Right? They have knife collection boxes on the street for people to turn their knives in, because after they got the guns, knife crime soared. London is the stabbiest place on the planet right now, or at least it seems to be. And now they're not talking about gun crime in England anymore. They're talking about knife crime. And the thing of it is, one of the reasons that at least we're more or less holding our ground on the Second Amendment in most cases. We have lost a lot of ground on the Second Amendment when it comes to guns. One of the reasons we haven't lost at all is because there are a lot of people that are passionate about guns, that are organized in the NRA. I know the NRA hasn't been exactly the most effective thing in the world, but the NRA, National Association for Gun Rights, USCCA, they're organized, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of gun guys. I'm a gun guy. I'm more of a knife guy than a gun guy. I like my knives better than my guns, but I like guns. But the point of it is, we have these organizations out there that are at least trying to hold the line. And because there are so many people that are into guns, we at least have a fighting chance. We need more people to be enthusiastic about their knife collecting and as active in protecting their right to collect knives and own knives and carry knives as we do about carrying guns. If they get the guns, they're going to carry the knives. They're going to come for the knives. They will. And you look at New York, right? It took them a while, but they finally got the stupid knife laws in New York overturned. That's largely due to the American Knife and Tool Association. I think that's what it's called, and the Knife Rights. The association called Knife Rights. Knife Rights is essentially the NRA for knives. They got this business of the gravity knife overturned. Well, and so I don't even know if I can do this with the CRKT. But basically, until recently in New York, if you could do this, well, I can't do it with this one. But if you could flip it, let's try right Ontario. Yeah, there it is. If you could do that, if you could flip the knife open, it was illegal. That just recently got overturned, but I think they're trying to bring it back. Right. Now, if we're driving people away from collecting knives by being idiots on the internet or in person, well, you show it, somebody shows an older guy a knife. Oh man, it's made in China. That's just junk. We have a young man that goes away, and what an idiot, what an ass. Right? I'm not going to show him my knife anymore. Even if he continues in collection, he's not going to be he's not going to be wanting to tell people he collects knives. He's not going to show people his knives because that one idiot insulted him. What happens? Fewer people wearing knives. Fewer people still are willing to join the National Association for Knife Rights or whatever organization to defend those rights. They're not going to have knife shows. They're not going to have. They're not going to make channels like mine with my legion of viewers. I don't have a legion of viewers. But if people stop and decide they're not going to collect knives because knife collectors are assholes, or they just decided that they're going to have their knives and not show their passion, we are going to lose the right to own certain kinds of knives, maybe all kinds of knives. We're going to lose the right to order them through the mail. We could end up having to register friggin' knives. But as I said, if you don't believe me, just Google some knife violence or knife laws or knife rights in Great Britain or in England. Right? If you don't believe it can happen, all you have to do is look there. It is illegal to think about defending yourself with any implement, including your fists and things, and that's only a slight exaggeration. It can't happen here, and the only way we can stop it is numbers and organization, primarily numbers. So if you're running people out with a bad attitude about whatever kind of knife that they're showing you and they're proud of, you are harming the entire knife person community, if there is that. Bit of a rant. Didn't show you any new knives or anything like that. But New Year, and I wanted to get this off of my chest. Because 20 years ago, if you had had the restrictions on guns to what we have now, the red flag laws, everything like it, if people would have tried to get that passed, it would be impossible. But the gun grabbers have grabbed the narrative. They're talking about common sense gun laws. Well, what exactly is common sense? My idea about a gun law is law-abiding citizens being able to shoot back when a criminal shoots it down. To me, that's common sense. Not anymore. And if we let it, right? But the thing of it is, hunting is not as popular. They have brainwashed, literally. Rahm Emanuel admitted it. They have brainwashed a generation of people that thinking that guns are bad and not the people holding them, and not some of the people holding them. Okay. Now, gun ownership is up in this country, but it's my generation and the older generations that are buying the guns. Trust me on this. A generation from now, 2 generations from now, we're going to have a bunch of kids that don't want to own guns, especially in the cities. They might steal them. A few of the ne'er-do-wells might steal them. But legal gun ownership is being systematically vilified. And they're going to do that in lives too. Some of them already have. And in some ways they already have. The whole gravity knife thing, that sounds horrible. Well, it just means that gravity deploys the blade. Most people don't know that. It's just like most people think that semi-auto and fully auto are the same thing. They don't know the difference. They just hear auto. Right? So, to a lot of people, I use my flipper. That's a switchblade. Comes open with one hand and it clicks. Switchblades are bad. They're bad guy knives, right? So, you get somebody that's new to the hobby, that are in the knives and everything like that. Educate them. Don't deride them. Don't run them down. Oh yeah, I mean, okay, this is an M-Tech. This is 440C steel. This is one of the better M-Techs. I really like it, like I said. But if they have one of these and they're thinking, well, maybe he's a guy that, and they have one of these, and right, well, yeah, that's actually a decent knife for $30. Not bad at all. But if you're really thinking about maybe having to defend your life with it, or if life is going to depend on it in some way, maybe you go pay a little more, $50 or $60, and get something from Cold Steel. Now, a lot of people say Cold Steel's not all that great, but Cold Steel has good customer service. The biggest problem with these knives, kind of going on a tangent, is M-Tech has no customer service. M-Tech doesn't even have its own website. Right? So if you get a clunker, you're stuck with it. But you have, especially when the young kids, they're, hey, look at this knife. I want to collect knives. I might even want to get a knife making. Well, that's crap. It's a Ridge Runner. It's made in China. The steel sucks. It's not full tang. Right? And he kind of thinks, what an asshole. Right? Now, on the other hand, well, yeah, that's a Ridge Runner. It's made in China. It's not really full tang. It's probably a rat tail tang and only goes a quarter way through the handle. Right? But that's what you need to look for in a knife. Now, this is a great knife. It's a good start. You like it? That's great. But the next time you buy a knife, look for this. Know what kind of steel it is. Is it a full tang? Maybe this new guy doesn't even know what a tang is. Tell him. Constructive criticism, not derision, is what I'm trying to say. This video has gone a little long, so I'm going to end it here, but I hope I made my point. I think I made my point. We've got to bring new people into the hobby. We've got to make them passionate about it, and we've got to make them fight for the rights to pursue the hobby of owning, collecting, carrying, using knives, because they will come for them. Look into organizations like Knife Rights, I think it's the National Organization for Knife Rights, and the American Knife and Tool Institute. Right, find these things. I'll find the right names and I'll post links in my description. Look into these things. If you're not a member of them, join them. But educate, don't insult when it comes to bringing new guys in. Right. And like I said, most of the guys on the forums and on the sites that I go to are good. They don't run people down. But the thing of it is, and I said this before, it's the negative comments that make the impact. It's sad but true. People are going to remember the bad things you say about them more than they'll remember the good things. Because the bad things hurt. And people remember pain. So I'll leave it there. Remember, draw your knives only in just purpose. Sheathe them only with honor. And remember that without knives, life would be dull and pointless. Like, share, and subscribe. That would really help. I'm trying to grow the channel. I got a new subscriber last week, and when I get a new subscriber, that's a cause for celebration. So thank you, and thank you to that subscriber. And as I said, if you can like, share, subscribe, especially subscribe, that would be fantastic. This is the Nutty Knife Guy, and I will see you next week.